Zahi on behalf of the state of Florida.
Defense?
Manuel Soto Diaz with the Office of the Public Defender.
Okay. All right, first up, we have Carlos Izari Serrano? Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Tell me your name.
Carlos Irizarry.
All right, sir, I reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit. It charges you with battery by strangulation, domestic violence, and domestic violence. I do find probable cause. I will provisionally appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you in the matter, sir.
Yes.
As to count one, I will set bond in the sum of $2,500. As to count two, I will set bond in the sum of $100. All right, we have someone present. Ma'am, state your name.
Melanie Arzola.
All right, and do you speak English, ma'am?
Spanish first.
¿Usted habla inglés?
¿Ah?
¿Necesita intérprete o lo va a hacer en inglés? She wants an interpreter.
All right. All right, raise your right hand to be sworn in.
Levante la
ma'am.
mano derecha para prestar juramento.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony that you will provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Jura y promete que la declaración que rendirá usted será la verdad, toda la verdad y nada más que la verdad.
Sí.
Yes.
All right, ma'am, what is it that you wanted to tell the court?
¿Qué desea contarle a la juez?
So, deseo eliminar el caso y quiero una orden de protección.
I just want to get rid of this case, but I do want an injunction.
All right, so are you in fear of him?
¿Acaso usted le tiene temor a él?
¿No?
¿Usted siente temor hacia él?
Sí.
Yes.
And you don't want any contact with him, is that correct?
¿Y usted no desea tener ningún tipo de contacto con él, es cierto? No.
All right. All right, so sir, bond will remain as I had said it. Conditions of your bond, there's no alternate address, correct? PTR?
Correct. We do not reside together.
Conditions of your bond, sir, will be that you not return to the scene of the offense. You maintain a separate residence. Do you have any personal belongings at the Walden Circle address?
Bien, señor, se va a mantener la fianza en lo que yo indiqué previamente. Las condiciones de su libertad serán que usted está prohibido regresar al lugar de los hechos, que usted está prohibido convivir con la víctima. ¿Acaso le quedan a usted pertenencias en la residencia donde estuvo usted?
Nosotros no vivimos juntos en 6 meses.
I haven't been living there for the past 6 months.
All right. So, sir, no contact with the victim in the matter. That means no contact directly, no contact indirectly. You are not to post anything on social media designed to get to her.
No, señor, ningún tipo de contacto con ella, es decir, no puede tener ningún tipo de contacto directo, ni indirectamente, ni tampoco a través de un tercero o por medios sociales.
Ok, ¿y por el niño?
Yes, but what about regarding the child?
Sir, you're going to have to apply to the Domestic Relations Court for a time-sharing plan. Any time-sharing plan that's applied for in that court can assist you with time-sharing. I will also order the no-contact order in this matter may be modified by a domestic judge to allow for third-party exchanges of the children.
Señor, cualquier tipo de régimen de visitas usted tiene que hacerlo a través del Tribunal de Familias para que le ayuden a usted fijar un régimen de visita. Pero como he indicado, en este caso usted está prohibido de tener ningún tipo de contacto con la víctima, pero usted podrá solicitar la modificación de ello a través del juez de violencia doméstica, pero esa modificación tendría que ser régimen de visitas con un tercero.
Okay.
Okay.
You have any other questions, sir?
¿Alguna pregunta?
No.
No.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you, ma'am.
Your Honor, may I have a brief moment with Mr. Rosario before we dismiss
You
him?
may. Next up, we have Jamie Rico Gonzalez. All right, sir, tell me your name.
Sí, mi nombre es Jaime Rico González.
Yes, my name is Jaime Rico Gonzalez.
Sir, I reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit that charges you with battery by strangulation, domestic violence, and battery, domestic violence. I did find probable cause. I will
I'm sorry,
provisionally
Your Honor,
appoint the
I can't
Office
hear
of the
what-
Public
I'm sorry,
Defender to
Your Honor.
represent you.
Could you repeat the charges?
Okay. Sir, I've reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit. It charges you with battery, domestic violence by strangulation, and battery. I do find probable cause. I'm going to provisionally appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. Ma'am, please tell me your name.
¿Usted necesita una traductora en español?
Sí.
Señora, por favor, dígame su nombre.
Sujei González.
Soleil González.
All right, ma'am, raise your right hand to be sworn in.
Levante la mano derecha para prestar juramento.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the information that you're about to provide will be the truth, the whole truth, or nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Jura solemnemente que las declaraciones que usted rendirá será la verdad, toda la verdad y nada más que la verdad, lo jura ante Dios.
Sí.
Yes.
What is it that you wanted to tell the court, ma'am?
Dígame qué es lo que me quiere contar.
Vengo a retirar el caso.
I come here to have the charges withdrawn.
Ma'am, are you in fear of Mr. Gonzalez?
Señora, ¿acaso usted le tiene miedo al señor González?
No.
No.
And ma'am, you're under oath. Has there been any history of domestic violence between the two of you in the past?
Señora, usted ha prestado juramento. Díganos, ¿existe algún tipo de antecedente con respecto a violencia doméstica entre ustedes dos?
No, tenemos 15 años juntos y jamás.
No,
Jamás
we've
me
been
había
together
tocado.
for 15 years and never.
All right. Do you have 2 children in common?
Ustedes tienen 2 hijos en común.
Tenemos 3.
We have 3.
All right. What I'm reading says that at least 2 of the children witnessed the altercation between the 2 of you. Is that accurate?
Aquí tengo escrito que hubo 2 testigos que vieron esto entre ustedes dos. ¿Es cierto eso?
¿Cómo? Perdón.
What do you mean? What?
The affidavit that I'm reading indicates that 2 of the children were present during the argument and the battery on you. Is
El
that
affidavit
true?
que estoy leyendo aquí indica que hubo 2 niños presentes que presenciaron la discusión y
Oh,
la
sí.
agresión física entre ustedes dos.
Sí.
Yes.
And ma'am, you want him to return home?
Y señora, ¿acaso usted desea que él regrese al hogar?
Sí.
Yes.
And you're telling me something like this has never happened before?
¿Me está diciendo que algo semejante a esto nunca ha ocurrido antes en el pasado?
Sí, nunca había pasado esto con nosotros.
Yes, never. This has never happened before.
All right, and if things become tense or violent in the future, will you again call 911?
Si las cosas se ponen otra vez tensas o hay violencia en el futuro, ¿se
will
comunicaría
you
usted
call
con el
911?
número 911?
Ya no.
¿Cómo?
No.
No.
So did you understand my question, ma'am? If there was another battery on you, would you call the police?
No sé si usted entendió la pregunta. Si fuera a haber otro acto de agresión física contra usted, ¿llamaría usted a la policía?
Tal vez sería ya algo, si volviera a pasar eso, tal vez sí.
Well, if that were to happen, I guess yes, maybe.
Okay. State, do you have any inquiry?
Not, Your Honor, the statement just object to a no hostile contact at this point based on her hesitancy to call 911.
All right. Over the state's objection, ma'am, I am going to release him to pretrial release. He does qualify without monetary.
Por encima de la objeción de la fiscalía, voy a concederle a él libertad provisional si acaso él reúne los requisitos para ello.
Without monetary conditions. Sir, one of the conditions of your release will be that you will have no hostile contact. That means no yelling, no screaming, no punching, no kicking, none of that. Do you understand that?
Señor, como parte de su libertad va a ser que usted está prohibido tener ningún tipo de contacto hostil, es decir, que no puede estar ni gritándole, ni pegándole, ni empujándole, ni haciendo nada así. ¿Me sigue?
Sí, sí.
Yes, ma'am.
You will also have to stay in close contact with pretrial release.
También también tendrá que mantener comunicación y contacto con el programa de libertad provisional.
And if there are any changes in your address, you must advise the clerk of the court as well as pretrial release and the Office of the Public Defender.
Y cualquier cambio de domicilio lo tendrá usted que comunicar a la Secretaría del Juzgado, al personal de la libertad vigilada y al abogado defensor público.
All right, thank you.
Gracias.
Nicole Marie Alamanina Diaz.
Do you want the brother in also, Your Honor?
Yes, please.
Your Honor, if we're going to do both the same, I'll have to do it consecutively.
I'm sorry?
If we're going to do both of them together, because they're kept separately, we have to do it consecutively. Just let Your Honor know.
Okay, all right, that's fine. All right, first, Ms. Almena Diaz. Is that you, ma'am?
Primero, la señora Almena Díaz. ¿Es usted? ¿Es esa persona, señora?
Eso es correcto. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Ma'am, I've reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit. It charges you with battery, domestic violence, and I do find probable cause.
Señora, he leído el auto de procesamiento donde se le imputa a usted la agresión física y determino que existe indicios de criminalidad para sustentar esa acusación.
I will provisionally appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you in the matter.
Provisionalmente le designo un defensor público para representarle a usted en este asunto.
And I am setting bond, ma'am, in the sum of $250.
La fianza se fijará en $250.
Conditions of your release will be that you maintain a separate residence from your brother,
Las condiciones de su libertad serán que usted está prohibido convivir con su hermano
that you have no contact with him,
y que está prohibida usted tener contacto con él
and that you not be in possession of any firearms or any weapons.
prohibido también la tenencia de armas de fuego o armas alguna.
At the time of this arrest, ma'am, you were out on bond in 2019 MM 4331.
Antes de este arresto usted ya estaba bajo libertad, o sea, estaba en libertad bajo fianza del número de caso 19 MM 4331
For the offense of petty theft.
por una acusación de delito de menor cuantía.
I am going to forfeit and street your bond,
I'm sorry, Your Honor?
forfeit and street her bond,
Se cobra la fianza,
all right, and you'll be held without bond.
se encontrará usted detenida sin derecho a fianza.
Anything further?
Your Honor, I would like you to consider possibly setting another bond in the petty theft case in light of the dissimilarity between the two offenses, the rather minor level of violence. And I also, Your Honor, was curious about whether the court would consider hearing from her brother regarding future contact. He's here. The court didn't receive any input from him.
Es que nosotros somos dos menores en esto, son hermanos.
Ma'am, do you
pelean.
want to have any contact with your brother?
Señora, señora, ¿usted desea tener contacto con su hermano?
Oh, siempre.
Always.
All right. Madam Interpreter, if you could ask the brother to raise his right hand to be sworn in. Sir, raise your right hand to be sworn in.
Por favor, levante la mano derecha para prestar juramento.
Sir, do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Señor, usted jura y promete que la declaración que rendirá será la verdad, toda la verdad, no más que la verdad.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, tell me your name.
Jerome Jimenez.
All right, sir, I have reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit. It's the same for you and your sister.
He leído el auto de procesamiento y
And while we're
la
on your
acusación es
case,
la
I do
misma que
find
su
probable
hermano.
cause for the battery charge. Do you wish to be heard on the false imprisonment?
Y determino que existe indicios de criminalidad con respecto a la acusación de agresión física. ¿El licenciado desea algo que decir?
Your Honor, if you're asking that question because you're left with the impression that I guess the
Esa pregunta no es porque-
slight
I don't find any
restriction for
probable
liberty,
cause.
we were
I don't
discussing
I
that
don't find
earlier.
any probable cause for the false imprisonment.
simplemente deseo
ROR on the
constar
false imprisonment.
que
Thank
se le
you.
concede
Set bond in the
prisión
battery in the sum of
juratoria por esta
$250.
acusación de agresión física.
Yo puedo decirle algo.
Am I allowed to say something?
Let me just get to that right now, sir. Your sister has indicated that she wants to have contact with you.
Parece ser que su
Do
hermana
you want to have any contact with her?
Parece ser que su hermana quiere tener
Yes.
contacto con usted. ¿Usted desea tener contacto con ella?
Always, it's my sister.
¿Usted me necesita a mí como para intérprete?
I think my sister needs more help.
¿Y desde
So do you
cuándo
need an interpreter, sir?
necesita un
No,
intérprete?
I know.
Okay,
Yo creo que
so for the record, you
Es
do
que
not
no
need an
hablamos
interpreter,
inglés.
Jerome, is that right?
I didn't hear you. Sorry, ma'am.
¿Desea tener contacto
I'm sorry?
con su
I
hermana?
didn't hear you.
You do not need an interpreter.
No.
¿Y usted no
Okay.
necesita un intérprete?
So according to this probable cause charging affidavit, your sister suffers from some mental health issues, is that accurate?
Yes.
And was she on her medications at the time of this
She
event?
doesn't take them at all anymore.
She doesn't take them at all anymore?
We've been trying to take it. Well, I've been trying to take it to the hospital. I called the cops 3 times. And they said that it's not my choice. It's my mother's. At that time, I was 20 years old.
All right, sir, and you do want to have contact with her?
Yes.
And your mom is still residing in the same home?
Well, I didn't hear that, ma'am.
Your mom still resides in the same home?
Yes.
And other than your mom and Nicole and you, anybody else live there?
No, just 3 of us.
Okay.
Your Honor, before we continue, may I briefly approach with the state?
Yes, approach, please. Now, this one says sidebar, so I imagine that's. All right, so with regard to Jerome, I am going to release him on his own recognizance as to count 1. As to count 2, bond will be set in the sum of $250. Neither of them qualify for pretrial release. Conditions of your release, sir, will be that you have no hostile contact with your sister. That means no yelling, no screaming, no punching, no kicking. I am provisionally appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you, sir. As to your sister, Nicole Marie, I can't remember if I did, but on the petty theft, I'll grant bond in the sum of $500 on that case. I'm declining to double it. And then on the battery, I think I previously set bond in the sum of $250. I will find that there's reasonable grounds to believe that she may not be competent. State has indicated, excuse me, the defense has indicated that there is an evaluation, that appointment for an evaluation that's pending. Provisionally appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent her. Anything else from the defense or the state?
No, Your Honor.
Nothing from the defense, thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you. Yes. Next up, I have Bridget Riley.
Judge, for the record, my name is Matt Ferry. I represent Bridget Riley, who's standing to my right. She's being held without bond in a misdemeanor domestic violence case. The alleged victim, Mark Greeley, he's present in the box. May we elicit testimony from Mr. Greeley?
Yes, raise your right hand and be sworn in, sir. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
All right, thank you. You may proceed.
Mr. Greeley, please state your full name for the record
Mark Greeley,
and your relationship to Bridget Riley.
girlfriend of 1 year and 9 months.
Okay. You're the named victim in this case?
Yes.
Okay. Is it your desire to have non-hostile contact with Miss Riley?
No.
Do you want to have non-hostile contact with her?
Yes, non-hostile contact.
Okay. Are you requesting the court for her permission to be permitted to return to your residence if she chooses?
Yes.
Okay. Are you afraid of her at all?
Not at all.
Okay. Besides this case, has there been any previous instance of domestic violence between the two of you?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Do you wish for the state to prosecute her on these charges?
No.
Okay. I don't have anything further.
State, do you have any questions?
Nothing from the state.
All right. All right, ma'am, I have previously reviewed the probable cause charging affidavit. I do find probable cause. PTR indicates that she was not interviewed. She has no prior history.
That is correct.
Yes, my client she's 30 years old. She has no record of any kind. She's a professional U.S. citizen. We're asking the court to consider setting a bond in the amount of $500 with conditions that she be permitted to return to the Mr. Greeley's residence and have non-hostile contact with him.
All right, then I'll grant bond in the sum of $500, and I will allow her to return to the scene of the offense, and she can have non-hostile contact. And again, that's no yelling, no screaming, no punching, no kicking, none of that, okay?
Thank you very much, Judge.
All right, thank you. Marquis Morgan. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Tell me your name.
Marquis Morgan.
All right, Mr. Morgan, I reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit. It charges you with aggravated battery on a pregnant person. I do find probable cause.
Your Honor,
Yes,
I just received an email indicating that his victim is on the way here.
okay. All right, so we'll recall the matter. Okay. Sir, we're going to recall you the case when the victim gets here, okay?
Mr. Gilliam?
Let me know when you want me to send, because there's not that email that you have that I signed.
Not a felony, my friend, unfortunately.
Sir, tell me your name.
Robert Gilliam.
All right, Mr. Gilliam, I reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit. It charges you with possession of heroin, possession of drug paraphernalia, and illegal use of shopping carts. I find probable cause for count 1 and count 2. familiar with 506, 513. Give me a number. State, it's not in the West's book of Florida statutes, criminal offenses. Can you look that up, please, and read to me what that statute says? He's got 506.513. While he's doing that, I will find that you qualify for the services of a court-appointed attorney and appoint the office of the public defender to represent you.
Your Honor, I have a statute with me.
Well, the PC affidavit has 506.513. All I'm saying is that in the West book up here, it's not in there. So I need you to read it to me.
Yeah, absolutely. The statute states the illegal use of shopping carts and laundry carts. It is in violation to remove any shopping cart or laundry cart from the premises or parking area of a retail establishment with the intent to deprive temporarily or permanently the owner of such cart or the retailer of possession of the cart.
All right, I decline to find probable cause as to count 3. There's nothing in this probable cause charging affidavit that tells me the exact location of 5160 South John Young Parkway or that he was not within the parking lot of the Marshalls. So I'll ROR him as to count 3. As to count 1, bond will remain in the sum of $1,000. As to count 2, it'll remain in the sum of $100. And I have appointed the Office of the Public Defender to represent you, sir. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Kimmel, Poston Kimmel is up next. All right, so you're Poston Kimmel?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, sir, I do find probable cause. You're charged with burglary of a structure. I will appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you in the matter. Does the defense wish to be heard on bond?
I do, Your Honor. I was going to make a request that the court consider lowering the bond in light of the circumstances. It appears that Mr. Kimball was looking for shelter, and it may technically be a burglary, but...
Right. All right. State you wish to be heard?
No, state will leave it to the court's discretion.
Okay. I will grant that request with regard to Mr. Kimmel. I will reduce bond in this matter to the sum of $500. Conditions of your release, sir, will be that you not return to the scene of the offense. Thank you. All right, we next have Susie Schmilt. Schmilt?
Yes, ma'am, she's here.
Okay. Good morning, ma'am.
Morning.
All right, and are you Susie Schmilt?
Yeah, that's me.
Okay. I reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Charges you with burglary of an
That's
occupied
correct.
dwelling and littering.
Not guilty.
Okay. I do find probable cause. And has there been a mental health review on her yet?
She still has a detainer in place.
Okay.
Post-traumatic stress disorder, that's all it is.
All right.
Cymbalta suppresses it. No one was willing to help, least of all these people. Ought to be ashamed.
I am going to reduce bond in the matter to the sum of $2,500 in count one. Count two
I already called Mike Snap.
in the sum of 100. Okay.
He won't do it for less than $100.
Ma'am, conditions of your release will be that you not return to the scene of the offense and you have no contact with the victim, okay?
Thank you.
I am going to appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. Thank you.
Guilty.
Jermaine Jones will be next up. All right, this is Marquis Morgan.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, tell me your name.
Carol Grady.
I'm sorry?
Carol Grady.
Okay. Raise your right hand to be sworn in, please. Ms. Grady, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you're going to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right. Ma'am, I've previously reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit. It charges Mr. Morgan with aggravated battery on a pregnant person. What is it that you want to tell me about this, ma'am?
It wasn't like it seemed. He's a good person, and I just want contact, and nothing like this will never happen.
Is there any history of domestic violence between the two of you?
No.
Never?
No.
PTR, did you find any history of domestic violence between the two of them?
Not between these two individuals, no. He does have history, but not with this victim.
All right. Ma'am, and your pregnancy, are you pregnant with his child?
Yes.
Do y'all have any other children together?
No. But he take care of all my other kids.
How many other kids do you have?
5.
Are you employed?
Yes, I work.
Okay. And does Mr. Morgan work?
But he got injured on his job.
Okay. Is he getting any income from that injury?
No, we're going through a process now with Morgan and Morgan.
All right. Are you in fear of him?
No.
And if something like this happened again, would you call the police?
No.
Why?
Because I'm not afraid of him, and nothing like this will never happen again.
Well, what if it did?
If it did? Well, then I'll call, but I don't think it's going to happen no more.
State, do you have any questions?
No, Your Honor.
Is there any income, ma'am, that he's getting right now that you're dependent upon from him?
His mom helped him.
I'm sorry?
I said his mom do help us out.
His mother?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I'll go ahead and allow non-hostile contact between the two of you, ma'am. I will not require that you maintain separate residences, but non-hostile contact means no yelling, no screaming, no punching, no kicking, all right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, law enforcement's got much better things to do than come to your home, and you've got much better things to do than come to court.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, bond in the matter will be set in the sum of $3,500. Condition of his release will be he will not be able to be in possession of any weapons or any firearms.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, now we have Jermaine Jones next up. Mr. Jones?
Yes.
All right. Sir, I reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit that charges you with trespass on property after warning. I do find probable cause. Sir, if you wanted to enter a plea to this, it's up to you. I will provisionally appoint the Office of the Public Defender. I would adjudicate you guilty, sentence you to time served, impose court costs, and reduce those court costs to a civil judgment. If you don't, then I will just simply impose a bond as a condition of your release. It's totally and wholly up to you. Do you want to entertain that?
Say it one more time, my bad. I apologize.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'll go slower, okay? I've reviewed the probable cause charging affidavit, and it charges you with trespass on property after warning. All right, I do find probable cause. Now, what I'm saying to you is if you want to enter a plea of guilty to it or no contest, I would adjudicate you guilty of it. It would go on your record, sentence you to time served, impose court cost, reduce those court costs against you to a civil judgment. Clearly, you don't have to do that. You can go forward, and I would appoint the Office of the Public Defender on a permanent basis to represent you, and you could bond out, or I would set bond to allow you to bond out, and then the State Attorney's Office could proceed from there. Those are your two choices, but it's totally up to you. There's an attorney to your left if you want to discuss that with him for a moment.
Your Honor, he's just going to bond out.
All right. All right, sir, bond is set in the sum of I'm reducing bond to the sum of $250 in the matter. However, conditions of your release will be that you not return to the Orlando International Airport. You understand that?
All right, yes.
All right, I will provisionally appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you in this matter. Next, I have Robert Jones. Good morning, Mr. Jones.
Good morning.
All right, sir, I reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit. It charges you with trespass on property other than a structure. I do find probable cause. I will appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. The allegation, sir, is that you came back repeatedly to the Lynx bus station. If you wanted to enter a plea in this matter, I'll entertain that. That's totally up to you. You certainly don't have to. I would adjudicate you guilty, sentence you to time served, and require again that you not go back to the Lynx bus station, and I would reduce all court costs to a civil judgment against you. Again, you don't have to do that. That is totally up to you. If you don't want to do that, then I would appoint the Office of the Public Defender permanently and probably reduce bond to $250 in the matter. You want to speak with the attorney to your right for a moment?
No. That's fine. Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
Your Honor, he's going to resolve the case today.
All right, sir, review that plea form, and then after you've read it, please sign it. All right, sir, is this your signature on the plea
Yes,
form?
ma'am.
All right, do you understand it?
Yes.
All right, sir, so I will accept your plea. I do adjudicate you guilty of trespass and sentence you to the time that you've served in jail. I will impose court costs and reduce those to a civil judgment against you, okay? Again, sir, you may not return to the Lynx bus station. If you do, then you know what's gonna happen, okay? All right, thank you.
Texas. About 2 months. Yes. Okay.
You doing all right? See?
All right, sir, tell me your name.
My name is Mitchell Marbe.
All right. Mr. Marbe, I reviewed an affidavit. It charges you with violation of conditions of your probation. State, what is the DV case that he was on probation for? The case number?
It is 19 MM 557W.
Madam Clerk, could you do me a favor and pull that up? 19 MM 557. 19 MM 557. All right, sir. I have verified that case number 19 MM 557 does indicate no hostile contact as a condition of your probation. I do find probable cause. All right, do you wish to be heard on bond?
I do, Your Honor. I was hoping the court would consider setting bond in light of the circumstances, possibly with a no contact order until the BOP matter is resolved.
Right. All right, so we've all been under a lot of stress with regard to this hurricane. I will go ahead and reduce bond in the matter to the sum of $250, but I'm not going to allow you to have any contact right now. And I am going to require that you not return to the scene of the offense, okay?
I'm sorry, what?
You not return to the address, okay? Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
And again, that's 716 East Lake Shore Drive is the address.
Okay. I was on probation last time because I violated the no contact because my dad came to visit me in jail.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand the no contact with my mom, but is there any way I could have contact with my dad, because I just don't know anyone else's phone numbers and I don't know if they're gonna come get, like, he told me yesterday that he would come bail me out today or something like that, and it's not like I just don't know who I'm supposed
I'll allow
to.
you to have no hostile contact with your father, okay?
So I can call him?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, and if I didn't say so previously, I do appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you, sir. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
You're welcome. Jewel Russell? Ms. Russell, I reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit. It charges you with trespass in a dwelling after warning. I do find probable cause. I will appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. Bond will remain in the amount of $500. All right, thank you.
What is it called? Probation. If I can get probation.
I don't know about that. Hold on one second. Your Honor, With respect to Mr. Russell, the trespass offense is pleable. Was the court not inclined to accept the plea from Mr. Russell?
I am, sure.
Okay.
Hang on one second.
I don't know about that.
All right, Mr. Russell, if you wanted to enter a plea to the offense, I would require that you be placed on a short period of probation. I would place you on 6 months of supervised probation, condition of which, I would withhold adjudication of guilt, sentence you to the time that you've served in jail, and require that you not return to the scene of the offense. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
That's totally up to you.
And will I be released today if I take this plea?
You would be.
Thank you, ma'am. I will.
All right,
Thank
so
you,
go
Your
over that
Honor.
plea form,
I will.
please, okay?
Thank you so much, Your Honor.
You're welcome. And if these folks, counsel, want to enter, please just let me know while I'm reviewing the probable cause charging affidavit, and I'll be more than happy to entertain a plea on the move-ups.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Russell, is this your signature on the form?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you understand the rights you're giving up?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and so you want to enter a plea to this trespass?
Yes,
After
ma'am.
warning? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, sir, so I will accept your plea. I will go ahead and place you on 6 months of supervised probation, a condition of which I will sentence you to the time served in jail and withhold adjudication of guilt. Conditions of your probation will be that you not return to 4942 Center Lane. You not have any contact with the owner of that property. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
I want you to report to probation within 24 hours of today, 24 business hours.
Yes, ma'am.
So it's best that you get there tomorrow by 5 o'clock. They'll
Yes,
go
ma'am.
over with you the standard as well as that special condition of probation.
Yes, ma'am.
I am imposing court costs in the matter. I will not make it a condition of your probation, however, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
How much do you think that you can afford to pay on the court costs? I don't know.
I could pay it right away, ma'am.
I'm going to require that you pay no less than $20 a month on it, with the first payment to be due within the first 60 days of your probation, okay?
Understood. Understood.
Any court costs that are not paid at the termination of your probation will be reduced to a civil judgment against you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Are you Jose Vargas?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Vargas, I've reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit. It charges you with possession of cannabis and possession of drug paraphernalia. I do find probable cause. I will appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you in the matter. Did you want to entertain pleading him, or?
Yes, I just needed a brief moment to talk to
Okay.
him. I also, Your Honor, was curious whether the court was inclined to take any action on the the petty theft case.
I only have an affidavit charging him with possession of drug paraphernalia and possession of cannabis. Is he out on bond in the petty theft, or does he have another charge?
That's
that he
what my
came in
information
on in
shows, Your
petty
Honor, that
theft?
he's out on bond on a petty theft case.
Yeah, 6538. I take no action on it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Your Honor, he's interested in resolving his case.
All right, sir, if you wanted to resolve it, what I would do is adjudicate you guilty of the offenses, sentence you to time served, impose court cost in the matter.
Your Honor, I just want to put on the record that the state would not be prosecuting the possession of cannabis case.
Okay, so I'll, if you're gonna null process, is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
So, sir, I'll just adjudicate you on the possession of drug paraphernalia, time served, court cost, I'll reduce them to a civil judgment. If you want to do that, review that plea form and sign it.
Yes. Yes. What about my other case? No.
The state is dismissing count 2, and he's just entering a plea as to count 1.
So that's what we're doing? All right.
Your Honor, the state actually would like to announce a null process on both counts.
All right. Sure, the state has announced a dismissal of both counts. You will be released from jail today on these, on this matter. And again, I've taken no action on the petty theft. Edward Sylvester?
Yes, Sylvester Blue. I'm Sylvester Blue.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sylvester Blue. Mr. Blue has been previously adjudicated incompetent to proceed in 2019 MO 1091. Mr. Blue was detained for open container.
I told him I had a license. I told him I'm licensed.
Okay, and indecent contact. I do find probable cause.
My ice and vicious order.
Defense, is the only case that he's been found incompetent to proceed on the 19 MO case? Is there any others?
No, Your Honor. I personally reviewed the 2018 7553 case. In fact, that was the case number that gave me reason to believe that there might be something else going on than just merely being out on bond. It's highly unlikely a misdemeanor case would be open that long. So he's been found incompetent in that case. In fact, I believe it was in April earlier this year.
All right, sir. Then I will release you on the same conditional release plan that's been previously imposed upon you. And with regard to this case, state, you might want to look into whether or not you decide to file charges. That's totally up to you.
Yes.
So I go home today?
I am going to appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you, sir. Sir, you will be released, but you have to maintain the same conditional release plan that was previously imposed on you, and I want to go over that with you for a moment. Are you still living at 219 South Paramore?
Yeah, I got different houses, so I still live on that street.
But are you still living at 219 South Paramore?
To what?
219
South Paramore.
South Paramore, you still live there?
How you spell it, ma'am?
Paramore, Paramore.
Yeah.
You staying there?
Yeah. But then my house fell down, but I still stay over that way.
Okay, do you get mail there?
Huh?
Your mail, where does your mail come?
I don't know. It come ask 66 address Calusa 9922 EETTE.
All right.
Across the street from it.
Now, you have social services in place that can
But
assist?
I was staying in the street all along.
Right, right.
Yeah.
From here, when he's released, he's on that conditional release plan that's quite old.
When I go home, I just be going home.
Does
Go-
social services
going
with
back.
your office follow up with this individual?
Not unless we put in a request, Your Honor.
All right, and I'm assuming he's already been assessed by mental health?
There is still a detainer in place. Is 1C is a mental health dorm? And he's in a mental health dorm.
Okay, all righty. All right, so to answer your question, yes, you'll be released today, okay?
All right. Yes,
All right,
ma'am.
thank you. I'm releasing them
What about the
under
other
cognizance and to comply with the conditional release plan that was entered in this case. Please to comply with that conditional release plan. I'm finding that you're not competent because of this conditional release plan. I'm releasing them. No action on any of the other, taking any action. All right, we have Angel Lewis Capel Santiago.
Yes.
All right, so I had previously reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit charging you with possession of heroin and possession of drug paraphernalia. I do find probable cause. Bond will remain in the sum of $1,000 in count one, $100 in count two. I'll appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You're out on bond in 2019 CF 12385. Would forfeit and restrict your bond in that matter. Be held without bond in that case. All right, is there anything else?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, thank you. Shane Joffrey?
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, review the probable cause charging affidavit. It charges you with burglary of conveyances and resisting an officer. I did find probable cause. I will appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. All right, at the time of this offense, you were out on bond in 2019 CF 8072 that charges you with possession of firearm by a convicted felon, battery, etc. I do find probable cause to believe that you've violated those conditions of release. Your bond will be forfeited and restricted. You will be held without bond on that case. Looks like you're also out on bond in 2019 CF 1870. Where you're charged with possession of methamphetamine. Also revoke your release status in that matter. Hold you without bond. As to the new law, bond will remain in the sum of $7,000 in count 1, $1,000 in count 2, $1,000 in count 2. Special conditions of your release will be that you not return to the scene of the offense. You have no contact with Christina Starr Hamilton. And I have appointed the Office of the Public Defender to represent you, sir. Thank
Your Honor,
you.
did you stay the bonds, 3,500, 100?
I stayed the bonds.
Okay.
Yes. Well, wait a minute. How much did you say?
Is it
I've got
3,500?
7,000 in count 1 and
Oh.
1,000 in count 2. That's the amounts I stayed. Yes, 7,000 count 1, 1,000 count 2. All right, thank you, sir. Did I give you that little list, but if we had to move those to those? I'll give that back to you. All right, Derek Kuntz.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, review the probable cause charging affidavit that charges you with retail theft. I do find probable cause. Bond will be stayed in that matter in the sum of $250. I am appointing the Office of the Public Defender provisionally to represent you in the matter. At the time of this offense, sir, you were out on bond, you were out on, or released on your own recognizance for resisting a merchant and retail theft in case number 2019 MM5778. I am going to revoke your release status and hold you without bond in that case. And as I've said, I've appointed the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. Thank you, sir. Alfredo Torres. All right, Mr. Torres. I reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit. It charges you with burglary of a structure, retail theft, resisting an officer without violence, and criminal mischief. I did find probable cause. Defense, do you know if there's any mental health history in this, with this individual?
Your Honor, I'm not personally aware.
Okay. All right, sir, bond will be stayed in the sum of $3,500 as to count 1, 100 as to count 2, 100 as to count 3, and 150 as to count 4. I will appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. At the time of this offense, you were out on release in 2019 CF 9475 for the offensive possession of cocaine. I will revoke your release status in that case. You'll be held without bond in that matter. Thank you, sir.
Your Honor, that, the case for which he was out on bond, I believe, hasn't been charged yet. Would the court consider maybe setting a monetary bond instead of holding him no bond?
State, could you address that, please? Whether charges have been filed, and if not, I would like to know the date of the offense on the other
Yes,
case. Never mind, I see it. It's July 2nd, 2019.
And I will confirm that it hasn't been filed on yet.
All right, I'll grant your request in that matter and set bond. I'll set bond in the sum of $1,000.
Total, it's gonna be 350, 100, 100, 100. That's what it's gonna have to be, unfortunately. I'm sorry.
David Garcia. All right, so next up I should have Terry Angel.
She's SP.
I'm sorry?
He's SP, Your Honor.
What is SP?
He's on suicide.
Okay. We call for tomorrow. Is this Tanyar Enslow?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so I reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit that charges you with possession of a weapon in the commission of a felony and aggravated battery on a pregnant person. I do find probable cause. I do appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you in this matter. Bond will remain in the sum of $4,000 as to count 1. As to count 2, I will set bond in the sum of $3,500. Special conditions of your release will be that you have no contact whatsoever with the named victim in the matter, you not return to the scene of the offense, maintain separate residences, not be in possession of any weapons or any firearms. All right, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Did you point public defender?
I
Your
did.
Honor?
Thanks. Shantoria Harris.
Yes.
Ms. Harris, I've reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit. It charges you with burglary of a conveyance, attempted aggravated battery, stalking, neglect of a child, and battery. I do find probable cause for counts 1, 2, 3, 5. State, you want to help me out with regard to count 4?
Sure, one second.
Neglect of a child. Am I missing something? Because the children were in the vehicle, is that what we're talking about while this happened?
Yes, I believe so. That's
All right,
what
I
it
don't
is.
find probable cause as to the neglect charge. So I will set bond, bond will be stayed in the sum of $3,500 as to count 1. As to count 2, bond will be set in the amount of $3,500 as well. As to count 3, $100. As to count 4, she's released on her own recognizance because, again, I do not find probable cause. As to count 5, battery, bond will remain in the sum of $100. Conditions of your release, ma'am, will be that you have absolutely no contact whatsoever with the named victims in the matter, Shakita Fisher or Brandon Randall. At the time of this offense, you were out on bond. Actually, you were out on your own recognizance in 2019 CF 9404, 2019 CF 5265, 2019 CF 9403. I do revoke your release status in each case, hold you without bond in each case, and you are appointed the Office of the Public Defender in this matter to represent you. Thank you, ma'am. So next up, I have William Villa Sanchez.
Yes.
Sir, I reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit. It charges you with false imprisonment and battery domestic violence. I do find probable cause. Ma'am, tell me your name.
William Villam.
I'm sorry, ma'am, tell me your name.
Liz Vega.
Do you speak English?
I do.
All right, raise your right hand to be sworn in, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I swear.
All right, ma'am, what is it that you want to tell me?
Because I don't want this to go farther. I mean, we just have a disagreement, and it got a little out of hand, but he's a very passive man. He's never done anything like this before, and we don't have these kind of issues at home.
Are you in fear of him?
Not at all.
So you want him to return home?
Yes.
Do you have any children in common?
No.
How long have you been together?
2 years and a half, but we just married 2 years and a half. We know each other for a long time, since 2011.
Sir, do you want to return to the residence? All right. I do note, ma'am, that you told law enforcement essentially the same thing that you're telling me, that there's not been a past history of domestic violence between the two of you. I am looking at his criminal history, and there is no criminal history. He does qualify for pretrial release. So, sir, I'm going to release you to pretrial release. I'll provisionally appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. Conditions of your pretrial release will be that you have no hostile contact whatsoever with the named victim in the matter, and that means no yelling, no punching, no screaming, no kicking. Do you all understand that?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you. I have Lee Edward White.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, sir, I've previously reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit. It charges you with battery by strangulation, false imprisonment, and tampering. I do find probable cause as to each. I will appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you in the matter. Ma'am, what is your name?
Maya Reynolds.
All right, and ma'am, raise your right hand to be sworn in, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, ma'am, what is it that you wanted to tell me?
I would not like to have contact with the defendant. I would like to have an injunction, and if there's any possible way, I ask that you guys find him professional help with his anger and just mentally, because I think he needs help.
Okay. Ma'am, with regard to the injunction, you can go to the clerk's office, domestic violence office down in the courthouse. You're aware of that? Have you, okay.
They told me it wouldn't be open today.
That's true. We're not open today, but tomorrow the courthouse should reopen, okay? All right, anything else that you want to tell me? All right, thank you.
I have a few of my things in his home, and he has the key to my house.
Okay. All right, and you say you have a few of your things in his home? All right, does he have any things in your home?
Just some clothes.
Okay. All right, any reason you can't box those clothes up and place them someplace?
No, ma'am, I can do that.
Okay. All right, sir, as to, I am appointing the Public Defender's Office to represent you. As to count one, sir, I do grant bond in the sum of $3,500. As to count two, sir, in the sum of $1,500. As to count three, in the sum of $500. Conditions of your release will be that you not have any contact whatsoever with Ms. Reynolds. That includes any direct contact, that includes any indirect contact, and that also includes posting things on social media that are designed to get to her. I want you to, I'll give you a one-time assist to return with law enforcement to pick up any personal belongings that she might box up. At that time also, I want you to provide the law enforcement any keys that you have to her residence, and law enforcement can provide that key to her at that time. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have a key to her residence?
I do have it, and she has a key to mine.
All right. Ma'am, I'll require the same thing, that you provide law enforcement the key to his residence, and law enforcement will give you that key. She's indicated that she has some personal belongings at your residence. Is that accurate?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I would require that you do the same thing, that you box up whatever she has, place it, and I'll give you an opportunity to go with law enforcement to get those boxes, one-time assist, okay? Do you understand all that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you to have no contact again, and that again means no indirect contact as well. I am also going to require, sir, in light of what I'm reading here with regard to your prior history, that you not be in possession of any firearms or any weapons. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. have the misdemeanor domestic violences. D'Angelo Glynn.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, I reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit. It charges you with a domestic violence battery. I do find probable cause. Appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you in the matter. Bond will be set in the sum of $500 with the following conditions. You will not have any contact whatsoever with the named victim in the matter. You will maintain separate residences. You will not, I'm sorry? You will not be in possession of any firearms or any weapons.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Dalton Morrison? You Dalton Morrison?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, sir, reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit. It charges you with domestic violence battery. I do find probable cause. So you don't qualify for the services of a court-appointed attorney. Are you still bringing home about $1,000, $1,800? Is that weekly?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And that's what you bring home?
I'm a truck driver, ma'am. Phone
Okay.
operator.
All right. And you still have that job once you're released?
Yes, ma'am. I was supposed to be at work this morning, but I'm here.
All right. So again, sir, you don't qualify for the services of a court-appointed attorney. I encourage you to talk to some attorneys out in the community. You might want to try and hire their services. As I said, I do find probable cause. Ma'am, tell me your name.
Nadine Smith.
All right. And Ms. Smith, would you raise your right hand to be sworn in, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. What is it that you want to tell me, ma'am?
I just want to drop the charges on him because it never happened before. But I'm requesting some help for him because he has an anger problem. And we've been going together for going on 19 years, and this is the same anger problem I've been dealing with. But he never physically hit me before. This is the first time, so I want to drop the charges, but I'm requesting mandatory anger management class for him.
Ma'am, what I'm taking care of right here today is to determine whether or not, based on what I'm reading in the police report, there is reason to believe that a crime has been committed. And then if I find that, then to set conditions of his release. It's not for me to sentence him or place him on probation or order him to have classes for anger management or batterers intervention programs or anything like that, okay? That is something that might be later in the process, but it's not today, and I want to make sure you understand that.
Okay.
Okay? You're telling me that this has not happened before? Or it has
Never, ma'am,
happened?
never.
And you feel that he has an anger management problem?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Given all of that, are you in fear of him? In
No,
other
ma'am.
words, do you want him to come back home?
Yes, ma'am.
So if he comes back home and this kind of thing happens again, what are you going to do?
I will call the police again.
Do y'all
But it
have-
never happened before. It's the first time I've ever called the police on him.
Okay. Do y'all have any kids?
Yes, ma'am.
How many?
One.
And she's 12?
Yes, ma'am.
Did she see any of this?
She saw everything that happened yesterday.
Okay. Sir, do you want to return to the household?
Yes, ma'am.
And you said you're employed as a truck driver. Is that long distance?
Over the road. Yes, state to state.
All right. All right. All right, ma'am, I will go ahead and release him to pretrial release without monetary conditions with the understanding that there is to be no hostile contact between the two of you. And that means no yelling, no punching, no screaming. I've got no jurisdiction over her, sir, but I do have over you. So again, No yelling, no screaming, no punching, no kicking. Do you understand that? No hostile contact.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, please keep your address updated with the clerk of the court as well as the Office of the Public Defender. All court notices will be sent to that address, okay? Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Audrey Slowly.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, sir. All right, sir, I've reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit. It charges you with domestic violence battery. I do find probable cause. You do not qualify for the services of a court-appointed attorney. There's no victim present. Was any alternate address obtained? Doesn't look like it.
No, there wasn't.
All right. All right, sir, I will set bond in this matter. I'll set it in the sum of $500. Conditions of your release will be that you have absolutely no contact whatsoever with the named victim in the matter. You maintain separate residences. And you not be in possession of any firearms or any weapons. You do not qualify, sir, for the services of a court-appointed attorney. According to this affidavit that I'm looking at, you put down that you bring home $700 a week. Is that accurate?
Yes.
All right. So you may want to reach out to an attorney in the community to see about representing you in the matter. Now, in terms of your address, what we have is the 1812 Leather Fern Drive. You're going to need to keep the attorney you're going to need to keep the Office of the Public Defender apprised of all changes in your address. They need to be able to contact you. Clerk of the court needs to be able to have a verifiable address that we can send to you all court notices. So wherever you end up staying, make sure that you notify both the clerk of the court and the Office of the Public Defender of your current address, okay? As well as your telephone contact number, yes.
I don't believe you appointed us, so.
Oh, I'm sorry, I
doesn't-
didn't appoint you, yes.
Okay.
Well, that goes for the clerk's file, okay?
Okay.
I do not know if the state of Florida is gonna file charges in the matter. If they do decide to file charges, the next thing you're gonna get is an arraignment court date. And it's gonna be sent to your last known address. And the last known address that we have right now is what's reflected on the affidavit of arrest. So when you have an address that you're going to be living at, or if you're just gonna get a P.O. box someplace, make sure that you, in writing, advise the clerk of the court of your current address, okay?
All right.
Do you have any questions about that?
All right.
All right, thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
David Stimmel? Good morning, sir.
Good afternoon.
Oh, you're right, it is afternoon. So I reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit. It charges you with battery, domestic violence, and it charges you with resisting an officer without violence. I do find probable cause. Will provisionally appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. As to count one, your bond is set in the sum of $250. As to count two, $500. Conditions of your release, sir, will be that you not be in possession of any alcohol whatsoever, you not imbibe any alcohol, or visit any places where their primary source of revenue is the sale of alcoholic beverages like bars, okay? I will order no contact and no return as well. All right, thank you, sir.
Christopher Elise is bonded, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Ron Beasley also bonded.
No, I didn't have any paperwork on Elise. Did you already know that he had bonded? Okay. We have Keith Blackman. Okay. All right, so I reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit. It charges you with possession of cocaine and possession of drug paraphernalia. I do find probable cause. Appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you in the matter. Bond is to count 1 will remain at 1,000, count 2, 100. Sir, as to 2019-5805, you are out on release. That is on a resisting an officer without violence. Indicates a failure to appear. Arrest date of 8/29. Or revoke your release status as to that case, sir. Hold you without bond. All right, thank you. Jason Brown.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Brown,
Yes, ma'am.
judge has previously issued a warrant for your arrest, having found probable cause for possession of a controlled substance. Bond is set in the sum of $1,500 in that matter. Bond will be stayed in that amount.
Yes, ma'am.
So it looks like the date of offense on this affidavit for arrest warrant is June the 20th. And PTR, if I'm reading this face sheet correctly, in 2019 CF 8879, the date of offense in that case is June the 20th as well. Is that accurate?
That is correct.
All right, so I'll take no action in 2019 CF 8879 for which you were out on bond. All right.
Okay, so
The
it's
Office of
okay
the
for me
Public
to,
Defender is appointed to represent
so it's
you.
okay for me to bond out?
It is okay for you to bond out.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
you, Mr. Chappell?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chappell, I previously reviewed probable cause affidavits with regard to burglaries of conveyances. I do find probable cause counts 1 through 4 charge you with burglaries of conveyances. Count 5 charges you with contributing to the delinquency of a minor. Count 6 charges you with possession of burglary tools with intent. I do find probable cause as to each. Give me a moment. I also reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit that charges you with possession of a weapon and ammunition by a convicted delinquent, possession of a firearm, and grand theft of the firearm. I do find probable cause. As to that case, in count 1, the possession of the firearm, I'm going to set bond in the sum of $3,500. As to count 2, $1,000. As to count 3, $1,000. Conditions of your release will be that you not be in possession of any firearms or any ammunition. Do not return. Have no victim contact. As to the burglaries of the conveyances, as to count 1, setting bond in the sum of $5,000. As to count 2, $1,000. As to count 3, $1,000. As to count 4, $1,000. As to count 5, it will be stayed in the sum of $1,000. As to count 6, it will be stayed in the sum of $1,000. Conditions of your release are, again, you have no contact with the victims, no return. You do qualify, so I am appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you in these matters.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
This is over the line. Yeah. So he was arrested in Volusia County, you're correct. All right. Hang on 1 second. All right. This is Mr. Kummer.
Yes, ma'am.
How do you say your first name, sir?
Keanu.
So I reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit. It charges you with criminal mischief. I do find probable cause. I am appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. Bond will be stated in the sum of $1,000. Thank you. Oh, and I'm sorry, conditions of his release will be not return. Condition of your release, sir, is that you not return to the scene of the offense. Thank you. I am not seeing any probable cause for fleeing and attempting to elude on this gentleman, Mr. Dubois. Correct me if I'm wrong. I see the citation, but I'm not seeing any factual basis to support it in the affidavit.
That's correct, Your Honor. The only thing is on foot, which would be the resisting.
Okay. All right, so, sir, tell me your name.
Kerry Dubois.
All right, sir, you've been detained on a probable cause charging affidavit. I do find probable cause as to counts 1, possession of methamphetamine, possession of cocaine, count 4, possession of cannabis, and count 5, resisting an officer without. I do not find probable cause as to count 3, fleeing or attempting to elude a law enforcement officer with sirens and lights activated. As to count 1, bond will be stayed in the sum of $1,000. As to count 2, $1,000. As to count 3, you'll be released on your own recognizance. As to count 4, it'll be stayed in the sum of $100. And as to count 5, it'll be stayed in the sum of $100. The Office of the Public Defender is appointed to represent you. However, sir, at the time of this offense, you were out on bond. You were out on bond in 2019 CF 11240. 2019 CF, looks like 42423, is that right? Okay. And 2019 CF 11239? Okay. All right, so sir, in those cases, I am revoking your bond and holding you without bond in those 3 cases. All right, thank you. Ronaldo Facey? Are you Mr.
This
Facey?
is Mr. Fountain, Your Honor.
This is Mr. Fountain? What happened to Ronaldo Facey, F-A-C-E-Y?
Inmate number, Your Honor.
Where's the inmate number on that?
1902, 6154.
Okay. Sir, reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit. It charges you with resisting an office, it charges you with fleeing and attempting to elude a law enforcement officer with sirens and lights activated. It charges you in count 2 with driving a license suspended. Subsequent offense. Charges you in count 3 with resisting an officer without violence. I do find probable cause. To appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. Bond in count 1, sir, will be set in the sum of $5,000. As to count 2, it'll be set in the sum of $100. As to count 3, $100. Conditions of your release will be that you not operate a motor vehicle without a valid and lawful license. Thank you. Next up, I have Larry Gooden. Gooden, I reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit. It charges you with burglary of a dwelling with an assault or battery therein. I do find probable cause. I will appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. State is an F1 PBL. Looking at it, I would intend on setting bond. Okay?
Yes, thank you.
All right, sir, I am going to grant bond in the matter. I'm going to grant bond in the sum of $5,000 with the condition of a release that you not have any contact whatsoever with the named victims in the matter. You not return to the scene of the offense. You maintain separate residences. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you, sir. Ms. Hull,
Yes, ma'am.
how do you say your first name?
I'll keep you.
Ma'am, I reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit. It charges you with possession of MDMA. I reviewed another that charges you with a possession of open container or consumption of alcoholic beverages in public. I do find probable cause. I do appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you in the matter. As to the possession of MDMA, bond will remain in the sum of $1,000. As to the ordinance violation of possession of alcohol, that will remain in the sum of $250. I will appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. Time of this arrest, you were out on bond in 2019 CF 4330. I will forfeit and street your bond in that matter, and you'll be held without bond in that case. All right, thank you, ma'am.
Kids are home by themselves during this hurricane.
Ma'am, you can apply to the judge that has that case that I just revoked the bond on to see if they would set bond in the matter, but I'm revoking bond in it based on your new law offenses.
I don't go to pretrial until December.
You can still, through the Office of the Public Defender, move for the court to set bond in that case. Whatever attorney is assigned to you in that case can do that for you, okay?
So,
All right, thank you, ma'am.
let me stay in Washington. No bond on this case.
Latrina Jones is next.
Because you committed.
Ma'am, is there anything that you could do, ma'am? This hurricane been going on and my baby's just home by themselves. Please, is there anything that you could do? I don't have nobody to go there with my kids and they home by themselves. I haven't had nobody to check on them or nothing. I need to make sure that my baby's is okay. Nobody's been
You're
there.
going to have to apply to the judge that is assigned to the trafficking case to have bond set in that
But I
matter.
had already got out on bond, man. I ain't know it could be no action taken. Please, I don't know what's going on at my house with my kids. And it's been storming and stuff. And they there by themselves. And I don't want the children's department family to take my children.
Where were they yesterday?
They've been at their house by themselves.
They were by the house. They were at their house yesterday by themselves.
And they don't know where I'm at. Please, ma'am.
What I'm looking at is with you and this is all in the light most favorable to the state. But what I'm looking at shows that you with your co-defendants were out in public. There's no children present. I don't know where your children were yesterday, and there were drugs present. So, ma'am, you're going to have to take this up.
They got that stuff off the ground next to me and her. Man, we was headed back to my house, to where my children were. I promise you that. Like we was headed back home to where my children were. And they approached everybody. And when we started walking up, they told us to come here. But man, we was headed back home, and she's with me. We was headed back to my house to get locked in for the hurricane to where my children were. And I also had their cookies and their milk and stuff with me.
No, ma'am. You'll have to apply to the judge who's got your case.
Please,
No, ma'am.
please,
Thank you.
ma'am.
You can go now. Now we have Latrina Jones.
Yes, sir, ma'am.
All right, Ms. Jones, I have also reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit that charges you with the possession of cocaine and possession of alcohol in public. I also find probable cause. Appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. Bond will remain in the sum of $1,000 as to the possession of cocaine, and remain in the sum of $250 as to the other case. Thank you, ma'am. Myasia Jones?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, I reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit. It charges you with possession of cocaine, and it charges you with 2 counts of possession of drug paraphernalia. I do find probable cause. I am appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you in the matter. Bond will remain in the sum of $1,000 as to count 2, $100 as to $1,000 as to count 1. As to count 2, Madam Clerk, I'm just going to reduce that to the sum of $50. As to count 3, the sum of $50 for a total of $1,100 bond. Ma'am, at the time of this offense, you were out on release, pretrial release, in 2019 CF 11994 for the offenses of possession of cocaine, drug paraphernalia, entering and remaining. I am going to revoke your release status in that case, and you'll be held without bond in that matter. Thank you, ma'am. Joseph Latanziano?
So,
Do we already do the co-defendant Ryan Beasley? Ryan Beasley, was he? We didn't do him. He bonded or something? Beasley? That's all right. Don't worry about it. All right, sir, I've reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit. It charges you with grand theft, 3rd degree. I do find probable cause. I will appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you in the matter. Bond will remain in the sum of $500. I won't increase it.
Your Honor, my information also shows that he qualifies for release to PTR.
Yes, he does qualify for release to pretrial release. Sir, is there any reason for you to have any contact whatsoever with Ryan Beasley? Is
No,
that
ma'am.
no? All right, so I will straight release you to pretrial release with the following conditions. You'll have no contact with Ryan Beasley. You will not return to any Home Depot in the United States.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Juan Martinez Caraballo.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit. It charges you with possession of alplazoram. I do find probable cause. Bond will remain in the sum of $2,000. I am appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you in the matter. Conditions of your release will be that you not operate a motor vehicle without a valid and legal license, all right?
I have a license, ma'am.
That condition of your release is that you not operate a motor vehicle without a valid and legal license. All right, thank you.
And I'll be here for 33 days.
Karen Muhammad is next.
Okay, hold on a second. Your Honor,
Kareem, I guess.
he's being held on other charges. What is the offense date of this particular charge? I'm just curious. I must have missed that. It had to have been a long time ago. These are,
This was 8/31 was the offense date. You're talking about this
because he's already being held on other charges, and I wonder if this particular charge is related to that. And Your Honor, I bring it
there's
to
a
you.
lot of other charges that could come out of this. It seems like it would be, yes, but to answer your question, but this just charges up the possession of alplazoram.
Yeah, I just question why because we've had this problem in other cases during the week where we have somebody that's quote unquote we arrested, but the person's never left the jail. So I don't know why they're being brought back to initial appearance. I would imagine that if his conditions of release were inappropriate, based on, I don't know, maybe some new evidence that the state would move the court for a change in his conditions of release. I don't know why we would.
See, look up this gentleman and tell me how many charges came out of this factual basis. That's what you're telling me, right?
Correct.
There's several charges that came out of this same
Right, he's never
date of
left the
offense,
jail.
the same factual basis.
Yes.
And he's been rearraigned on several charges instead of being arraigned all of them at once. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Being held on another case where the incident date is July 31st with several charges that the one.
Yeah, so what are the other matters that, the charges that he's been IA'd or being held on? Or has
So
bond
there
on,
are
whatever the
five.
case is? Yeah.
There are 5, none of which have been filed on by the state. Count one is trafficking in controlled substance. Count 2 is possession of heroin with intent to sell or deliver. Count 3 is possession of cocaine with the intent to sell or deliver. Count 4 is possession of Vicodin. And count 5 is possession of drug paraphernalia.
So when was the I-8 on those?
It's not shown on my system. I could look on the clerk's side.
This is an offense date of August the 31st. that
Correct.
I'm
This
dealing
one
with.
is offense date on July 31st.
No, I'm looking at August the 31st. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the very first. That's when they got the FDLE lab report. I apologize. All right, so the offense date that you have is when?
July 31st.
Okay, so this is on July 21st.
So this is unrelated to the prior
This
incident?
says, yeah, 31st is when the drugs came back from FDLE. I just read the first report, but the offense date is July the 21st on this. Okay? Does that answer your question?
It does, I think.
Okay. So it does not appear that he has been rearranged out of the same factual basis. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good afternoon, sir. Your name?
Kareem Muhammad.
All right, sir, reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit. It charges you with possession of MDMA and drug paraphernalia. I do find probable cause. I will appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you in the matter. Bond is to count one will be stayed in the sum of $1,000. Is to count two, 100. The time of the offense, sir, you were out on release with regard to 2019 CF 101690, where you were charged with possession of cocaine. I do revoke your release status in that case, and you'll be held without bond in that case. All right, thank you, sir. Next up, I have Harold Morales Gonzalez. Sir, I reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit. It charges you with retail theft and possession of heroin. I do find probable cause. I will appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. Bond in count one is stated 100, count two, 1,000, excuse me. Bond in count one is stated 1,000, count two, 100. Conditions of your release, sir, will be that you not return to any Home Depot in the United States, and obviously that you not be in possession of any controlled substances that are not legally and validly prescribed to you by a physician. Thank you.
Your Honor, Mr. Morales was telling me that he doesn't believe that he can afford any monetary bond. Would the court consider releasing him ROR?
He's got 4 prior failures to appear. So I would not.
Okay.
Jeremy Rogers. All right, Mr. Rogers, I reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit. It charges you with grand theft. It charges you with resisting a merchant and resisting an officer without violence. I did find probable cause, sir. As to count 1, it will be stayed at $500. Count 2 stayed at $100. Count 3 stayed at $100. Conditions, I will appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. Conditions of your release, sir, will be that you not return to any Walmart in the United States. All right, thank you, sir. We have Christy. Ma'am, how do you say your last name?
Strikers?
I'm sorry?
Strikers?
Okay. All right, ma'am, I'm reviewing a probable cause charging affidavit. It charges you with possession of heroin, possession of cocaine, and possession of drug paraphernalia. I will find probable cause. I will appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you in the matter. Bond is to count 1 will be stayed in the sum of $1,000. As to count 2, $150, and as to count 3, $100. Thank you, ma'am. John Bale?
Yes, ma'am.
So I reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit. It charges you with grand theft 3rd degree of a motor vehicle. I do find probable cause. I will stay bond in the sum of $1,000. Conditions of your release will be that you not have any contact with the owner of the vehicle in question. I will appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. Thank you. Is this Mr. Villa Fang? You Mr. Villa Fang?
Yes, ma'am. All right, sir, I reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit. It charges you in count 1 with possession of tetrahydrocannabinoids, and count 2, possession of cannabis. I do find probable cause. As to count 1, I'll reduce bond to the sum of $500. As to count 2, it'll be stayed in the sum of $250. I will appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. Thank you, sir.
Excuse me, miss. I've never missed a court appearance. Is there any way I could get ROR? I have my kids waiting for me at home, and I have a job that I have to get back to immediately.
Your address is 1365 Epsom Oaks Way?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
How long have you lived at that address?
5 years.
Okay. All right, I'll release you on your own recognizance, sir. All right,
Thank you so
I've
much.
appointed the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. Please stay in close contact with them with regard to any future court dates.
Thank you, ma'am.
Brandon Scott Walker?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Walker, a judge has previously found probable cause and issued a warrant for your arrest for grand theft motor vehicle, setting bond in the sum of $1,000. Bond will be stayed in that amount. I'll appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. According to the affidavit, the offense date on this matter was April the 20th of 2019. That date did post-date your arrest in 2019 CF 7178. Excuse me, predate your arrest in 2019 CF 7178. So I will not take any action on 2019 CF 7178. As I said, the Office of the Public Defender is previously appointed to represent you.
Ma'am, I just got a job working outside. I've been homeless for a while and just got established. I'm trying to be able to keep my job and keep my establishment in where I'm at. Is there any chance that I can get an ROR? I'm able to get back and forth to court, and I'm able to pay court cost of supervision and court costs or whatever. I just.
Mr. Walker, no, sir, you've failed to appear at least 4 times in the past, so based on those failures to appear, I would not RR you, okay? All right, thank you. Andra Washington? Are you Mr. Washington?
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, I reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit. It charges you with possession of cocaine with intent to sell or deliver. It also charges possession of cocaine, attempted destruction of evidence, and possession of drug paraphernalia. I find probable causes to count 1, bond will remain in the sum of $15,000. I find that count 2 is subsumed within count 1, and I will decline to find probable cause and ROR you on count 2. Count 3, I find probable cause, as well as count 4, bond will be stayed at $100 each in those counts. There's also an allegation that you were driving on a suspended license with at least 2 prior convictions.
I wasn't even in the car.
Hang on one
Okay,
second. Hang on
okay.
1 second, please.
Yes, ma'am.
so I do find probable cause for that as well, and I have also reviewed the David printout. Bond in that case will be stayed in this, well, actually, I'm gonna reduce bond in that matter, Madam Clerk, to the sum of $1,000. I have appointed the Office of the Public Defender to represent you, sir. Thank you.
Miss, hey, Judge, could you reduce the $15,000 bond for me so my mom can get me out, please?
Sir, I am declining to do that based on what I'm looking at on the affidavit. You do have at least 2 prior failures to appear in the past.
Ma'am, I haven't been incarcerated in 15 years.
That might very well be, I don't know. All I know is what I'm looking at in terms of,
Because the failure to appear, that's not me. I haven't been incarcerated since like 2004. I haven't been to no courts, and I never had a failure to appear. So that must be somebody else's records, because that's not mine.
did you have a 2008 fleeing and attempting to elude a law enforcement
No,
officer?
ma'am. I was in prison from 2008 to 2014. So that's what I'm saying. I was in prison from February 28th, 2008 to December
Okay, well, hang on.
24th to 2014.
1 second. PTR, when I'm looking at his felony history, second page, when you have LC 72308, what does that mean? Last conviction was 72308? All right. And is that naming the same fleeing and attempting to elude that you have first listed under Florida convictions? Or is that a different fleeing and attempting?
The same.
It's the same one? All right. And with that one, that's also there's some other convictions here, so I don't know the dates of them. But from what I'm looking at, it's possession of cocaine, possession of firearms by a convicted felon, resisting without, drug possessions, aggravated battery.
Your Honor, though.
Possession with intent. Hang on 1 second.
You went to DOC actually in August of 2008.
Okay. All right, sir. Well, I will go ahead and grant your request as to count 1 and reduce the bond. I don't know how much it's gonna assist you, but I'll reduce the bond in that matter. Given that the weight of the drugs are alleged to be 5.9 grams, I'll reduce it to the sum of $7,500, so I'll cut it in half for you, okay?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay. All right. See y'all later. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so next I have the misdemeanor non-pleables, but I want to take a break, please. Okay, so we'll take a 15-minute break, and I'll come back at 15 after the hour. Okay, 2:15. Your name, sir?
David Frederick.
Okay. So I reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit that charges you with resisting an officer without violence ×2. I do find probable cause. The bond will be stayed in the sum of $500 as to each count. Court had issued a warrant for your arrest for resisting an officer without violence. You had failed to appear for trial on that offense, and the court issued set bond in the sum of $10,000. Bond will remain. I don't have an application for the public defender's office in this, so I'll provisionally appoint the office of the public defender to represent you.
Your Honor, he was interested in resolving the resisting cases, the 2 resisting charges today, if possible.
He probably will not want to enter a plea. On the resistings, I would probably sentence him to at least 90 days in jail. Okay, that's at least 90 days. I'd read it again, but it would definitely be a minimum of 90 days.
Okay.
Okay. Shania Baisley, okay. Who do we have here? Mr. Breland?
My name is Jeffrey McDade.
Jeffrey McGay?
McDade.
Okay. And what happened to Aaron Breland? Is that the
Also
person
bonded.
who's, okay, bonded? So I reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit that charges you with DUI. I do find probable cause. Qualify, and I will appoint the office of the public defender to represent you in the matter. Bond will be stayed in the sum of $500. Conditions of your release will be that you not operate a motor vehicle without a valid and lawful driver's license, okay? Not consume any alcohol. Do not visit any places where the primary source of revenue is from the sale of alcoholic beverages.
Understood.
Thank you.
May I ask a question?
You might want to run it through the attorney to your left before you run it to me.
Your Honor, he was wanting the court to consider RR release.
I can't come up with the funds.
Sir, I'm looking at an out-of-state conviction history here, and it has you with DWI, and at least out of state. And in Florida, disorderly intox. And as much as this is a like offense to your out-of-state conviction, I would not be reducing the bond any further than the $500.
But ma'am, that brother wouldn't be able to do anything, and I do work. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it to work today for obvious reasons. I am in recovery. I wasn't sober for 2 years. I had a relapse. This is what happened. If you could, I really, really would appreciate it if I could do the ROR, please.
Let me re-review his affidavit, please, Madam Clerk. Is your license to drive suspended in any other state?
No, ma'am.
All right, well, according to this, there was a refusal to blow, and there was a bottle of gin found in the vehicle. So where are you employed?
I work for Advanced Recovery Systems. It's actually a substance abuse field.
And what do you do for Advanced Recovery Systems?
I'm an intake coordinator, so I help people get into rehabs, detoxes, things like that. I get their insurance information, do pre-assessments.
How long have you lived in the state of Florida?
6 years.
All right, so I'm going to take you at your word that you have a job, that is where you say it is, and I'm going to go ahead and grant your request in this matter and release you on your own recognizance with the understanding that you will not operate a motor vehicle at all.
Thank you very much.
You will not operate a motor vehicle at all, not be in possession of any alcohol, and again, not visit any places where their primary source of revenue is from the sale of alcoholic beverages. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. All right, ma'am, I reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit that charges you with leaving the scene of an accident with property damage. I do find probable cause. I do appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you in this matter.
Your Honor, she doesn't appear to have much, if any, history with the court.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
She doesn't appear to have much of any history with the court. Consider releasing her on her own recognizance.
Ma'am, I will grant your attorney's request and release you on your own recognizance with the understanding that you must keep in close contact with the Office of the Public Defender. You will not return to the scene of the offense. And what we have is an address of 4367 North County Road 426. Is that still a valid address?
Yes, ma'am, but what do you mean about the first few words you said?
I'm releasing you on your own recognizance. Is that what you meant?
Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
Again, that's in Geneva. Is that where you live?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Please know that you must keep the court file as well as your attorney updated with any changes of address.
Okay, thank you so much.
Chad Waters? Mr. Waters, I reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit. It charges you with DUI. I'm going to provisionally appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you in the matter. I do find probable cause. And bond in the matter, sir, will be stayed in the sum of $500. Conditions of your release will be that you not operate a motor vehicle without a lawful and valid license, that you not be in possession of any alcohol, you not visit places where their primary source of revenue is from the sale of alcoholic beverages, such as bars. All right? All right, thank you. And again, just tell me who's interested in entering a plea on the front end and let me know, okay? All right, so we have Mr., how do you say your name, sir?
Adates.
I'm sorry? What is your name?
Adates.
Oh, okay, and your last name?
Caballero.
All right, thank you. All right, so I reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit that charges you with battery. I do find probable cause. I will appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you in this matter. Bond is set in the sum of $500. Bond will remain in that amount. All right, thank you, sir.
I don't have $1.
I couldn't hear you.
What did I say?
He said he doesn't have $1, at least that's what I heard.
Oh, okay, all right, thank you. Your name, sir?
James Collex.
Mr. Clexi, I reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit that charges you with battery. I do find probable cause. I will appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. It will stay bond in the sum of $500. Conditions of your release will be that you have no contact whatsoever with the listed victim in the matter. Do not return to the scene of the offense. And that would be it, sir. Thank you.
Ricardo Jones is mental health, Your Honor.
We set that to tomorrow. Vesna Greenberg? All right. Ma'am, I reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit that charges you with battery. I do find probable cause. who will appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you in the matter. Conditions of your release, ma'am, will be that you have no contact whatsoever with the victim in the matter. Ma'am, do you live at 2803 West Arlington Street?
Yes, I do.
Number 434?
Yes. That man
Who
doesn't
is
live
Floyd
there.
George to you?
He was a neighbor that got thrown out.
Just a neighbor? And you said he's no longer living there?
Excuse me?
Is he still living at?
No,
the-
he was kicked out 2 months ago.
Okay, all right.
That's why he keep on coming to my house and crashes every day.
Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead, ma'am, and just order that you have no contact with him and maintain a separate residence, even if that's applicable, I don't know, but just maintain a separate residence, okay? And bond in this matter will be $250.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ulano Jean?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, Mr. Jean is interested in resolving his case today, depending, of course, on whether the court's inclined to take any action on the out on bond.
If he wanted to resolve it by entry of a plea, I would state you going forward on count 2.
No, if the court would plead count 1, the state would null cross count 2.
All right, sir, I would adjudicate you guilty of resisting an officer without violence. The state is going to dismiss count 2, and you would receive a sentence in that case of time served. And I would impose court costs. You'd have to pay the court costs. I wouldn't reduce them to judgment unless there's something that I don't know about his financial situation. And I won't take any action on the felony that he's out on bond on.
How many days do I have?
If that's something that you want to do, sir, go over the form with, and I will appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you for purposes of today and forward.
He'll resolve his case today.
All right, if that's what you want to do, sir, read that plea form, and then after you've read it, sign it. Is that your signature, sir, on the form?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Is that what you want to do, enter a plea to the resisting?
Yes.
All right, so I will accept your plea, sir. I'll adjudicate you guilty of resisting an officer without violence, sentence you to the time that you served in jail, impose court costs, and a lien for the services of your attorney. And I will require that you pay that sum within 1 year. State your no processing count 2.
Yes, the state announces a null cross count 2.
So you'll have to report to the clerk of the court down at room 410 at the courthouse, and they'll go over a payment schedule with you on that, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll take no action in 2019 CF 9294. Oops. Tyrone Lawson.
Well,
Mr. Lawson, you were detained on a probable cause charging affidavit that charges you with resisting an officer without violence and possession of cannabis. I do find probable cause. I will appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you.
Your Honor, Mr. Lawson is also interested in maybe resolving the case today. I imagine we would do the same thing in this case as the prior case, since
State,
same
what's your
exact
position
charges.
on count 2?
The state would dismiss count 2. The court will resolve the case today.
All right, sir, if that's what you want to do, review that plea form, read it, and then sign it.
Your Honor, he'll resolve his case today. No. No, because there's no conviction.
All right, sir, do you recognize your signature on this form?
Ma'am?
Do you recognize your signature on this form?
Yes, ma'am,
All
I
right,
do.
is that what you want to do? Give up the rights on this form and enter a plea?
Yes, ma'am.
And that says to count 1, the resisting an officer without violence?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, sir. I'll accept your plea. I'll adjudicate you guilty, sentence you the time that you've served in jail, and there are some court costs involved. I will want you to report to the clerk of the court within 5 business days of your release from incarceration. They'll go over a payment plan with you on the outstanding court costs, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
State your no crossing count 2.
Yeah, the state announces an all crossing count 2.
Thank you. Violetta Thornton?
Yes.
Member, reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit that charges you with possession with drug paraphernalia. I do find probable cause. Does she want to resolve the matter?
She does, Your Honor.
Okay. If she wants to resolve the matter, it would just be adjudication, time served, and court costs. In her case, I would reduce the court cost to a civil judgment.
I'm sorry?
I said in her case, I will reduce the court cost to a civil judgment.
Okay.
Your Honor, the state would like to inform the defendant that she would qualify for the level 1 drug diversion, which is only a 1-hour educational class, and then the state would dismiss the charge.
Ma'am, are you interested in that? The upshot is this. If you enter a plea to this, you're going to have on your record another possession of drug paraphernalia charge. Your prior history has many convictions, and I don't know what that means to you, but if you go through the state's diversion program, it is an educational course on substance abuse that they offer. And there is the payment of about $150 in costs, and then the charges are dropped against you. I don't know if you're interested in that, but that's something that they're offering up to you if you would be interested in it. I would release you on your own recognizance so that you could go ahead and enter that program and complete it. You can also take the plea and get time served and the court costs in the matter, which I would reduce to judgment. It's up to you.
Your Honor, she believes it's unlikely she'd have the funds to pay for the class. So it might be more practical for her to.
All right, ma'am, is this your signature on the plea form?
Yes.
All right.
Yes, ma'am.
And does that, what you want to do, enter a plea to possession drug paraphernalia?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, ma'am, I'm going to go ahead and accept your plea, adjudicate you guilty of the offense, sentence you to time served in jail, impose court costs, and reduce them to a civil judgment against you. Okay?
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Did I give you that? Yeah. Are you Ms. Buchanan?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Buchanan, you're being detained on a warrant. The warrant has a bond. No, I apologize. You're being detained on a retail theft warrant. There's no bond in the matter. There's an allegation of actually, I do not know what the allegation is. It's in case number 19 CF 2468. Looks like it's out of Lake County. The other one's out of Lake County as well. And it is a no bond warrant. All right, ma'am, they should come get you in 48 hours. If they do not, communicate with someone here in the jail, okay?
48 hours?
They should come get you within 48 hours.
Okay.
Miranda Darnell? Ms. Darnell, there is an allegation that you were in possession of narcotics at a time when you were on probation for the offense of grand theft, third degree, out of Osceola County. I will find probable cause. I am going to go ahead and continue to hold you on no bond in that matter. They should come get you within 24 hours to bring you to Osceola County, okay? Candace McCrimmon? Ma'am, you are also being held on some warrants out of, or a warrant out of Lake County. There is no bond on each count. All right, you'll continue to be held without bond. What is this, 2019 CF 10358? PTR, is this an Orange County case?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I'm taking no action on that matter. Thank you, ma'am. Are you Mr. Scott?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Scott, you're being detained on a warrant out of Lake County. The bond amount is $2,000. Bond will remain in that amount. You should be transported within the next 48 hours. reset them to tomorrow. Are you Mr. Townsend?
I'm Frankie Bojorquez.
Okay. I have a Jalen Townsend.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, he bonded.
Okay. Bonded. As well as mental health. All right, sir, I've reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit that charges you with trespass on property after warning. I do find probable cause. Bond will remain in the sum of $500. Going to provisionally appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you in this matter.
Your Honor, this is a pleable offense. He's interested in resolving the case today, depending on course, of course, on whether the court's going to take any action on the out on bond case.
Well, he's out on bond in a battery. Is the battery the same girlfriend that he was allegedly trying to see at the coalition? That would impact what I would offer him.
Well, he's telling me the case is dismissed, but
Dispense with, let's see, state, what's happened in 2019 MM 6094?
It's been dismissed.
No final decision has been made yet. It's not been dismissed.
And the date of the offense on that is 7/21/19.
It's been dismissed. I have to pay more.
So counsel, the only concern I have is that, given the date of the current offense, 9/1, and the date of the battery, I'm concerned that we're dealing with the same victim here. So in terms of an offer in the matter, he would be looking at probably about 30 days. And if, again, you can tell me that he's,
No, I felt bonded out on that. The case was dismissed. I'm telling you that the court date December 3rd, I got no letter on this, on release on call was, that was 32-day motion in.
Your Honor, should the options are possibly a 30-day sentence or just bonding out?
30 days or bonding out, but I would be taking action on the battery, okay? Just so that he's aware.
There's no battery, sir.
Your Honor, he was released ROR on that case. Would the court consider maybe just setting a monetary bond?
I'll set a monetary bond, but I would, it's looking like, just so that he knows, that it'd be $500 on that battery. And then on this trespass,
Get out, sir. 2,500.
probably $250 on the trespass.
$250 on bond, and my daughter said case was dismissed.
So I'll reduce that to $250, so a total of $750 if you wanted to bond.
This is
Your Honor. He did have a felony battery that was no billed, so he may be thinking about that one, but there is still an open misdemeanor battery.
All right.
There's no open misdemeanor battery, so case is dismissed.
Well, it sounds like he needs a little time on this, all right? So I will go ahead and reduce bond in the trespass to $250 with the requirement order that he not return to the coalition. And on the battery case, I will find a violation of his pretrial release, and I will set bond in the matter of $500, conditions that he have not have any contact with the victim in the matter. And I am, as I said, provisionally appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent him.
What you want me to do?
All right, thank you.
I'm not, but I didn't even get to say nothing. That's against the Constitution, statute law. That's not what I'm wanting, bro.
Do we have, is this Mr. Jones?
Yes, I'm Jamal Jones.
Okay. Mr. Jones, I've reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit that charges you with unnatural and lascivious act, basically masturbating in a store. I do find probable cause. I will appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you in this matter. Bond will be increased to the sum of $1,500. That's based on the four corners of the affidavit. It's also based on the conviction history, and it's based on 6 prior failures to appear. All right, thank you.
I didn't know about that.
Your Honor, before we dismiss Mr. Jones, I see here my information that he has a Hillsborough County hold. Can we have the jail speak to that, or what's the nature of the hold?
Just as out-of-county hold for Hillsborough County is all that's on the PTR information sheet. PTR, do you know anything further?
It's a VOP for DUI with property damage, no bond.
Okay, thank you.
So I have to wait for Hillsborough to get me?
If you bond out, they'll send you over to Hillsborough.
You know how long it'll take for Hillsborough to come?
Once you bond out?
Yeah.
Days.
Yeah, I said 12.
Brittany Manuel? Ma'am, I reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit that charges you with possession of MDMA and introduction of contraband. I did find probable cause. I will appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you in the matter. As to count 1, bond will remain in the sum of $1,000. As to count 2, it will remain in the sum of $150. All right, thank you, ma'am.
Bobby Turk is in the house.
Jackie, can you tell me, she has a Seminole County hold, is there a bond on it? No, I was asking you first, that's why I was asking you, 'cause the bond is 1995? Oh, okay. So it's $1,195. Thank you.
Christopher Lee? Mr. Lee, I've reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit that charges you with possession of cocaine, and I do find probable cause. There's also probable cause to believe that you are in violation of the terms of your probation. You were placed on supervision on June the 13th of 2019. That is in case number 2019 CF 2471. I do find probable cause to believe that you violated the terms of your supervision, and in that case, I'm going to hold you without bond. The Office of the Public Defender is appointed to represent you. Looks like you're also out on bond at the time of the offense for 2019 CF 4490. That offense is for burglary of a structure and grand theft. I will forfeit and street your bond in that case, and you'll be held without bond in that matter as well. Mr. Aristide? All right, sir, review the probable cause charging affidavit. It has listed on the affidavit state misdemeanors in count 1 and count 2 state. Is this a lording and prowling that he's trying to, that's what he's putting in the body of his probable cause charging affidavit here?
Yes, that seems to be an error with the officer. However, in the report, it states account of resistant officer without violence and a second count of loitering and prowling.
All right, so I will find probable cause for the resisting an officer without violence. In terms of the lording and prowling, I will also find probable cause for that. If he wanted to entertain a plea, just be adjudication time served. State, are you gonna go forward on both of these?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, adjudication time served, court costs. Reduce them to civil judgment, it's up to him. Otherwise, the bonds will be reduced in count 1 to, actually the bonds will remain the same, be a total of $300, $250 in count 1, $50 in count 2.
Your Honor, he's interested in resolving the case today.
Okay, all right, have him review a plea form. All right, sir, is this your signature on this plea form?
Correct.
And is that what you want to do? Enter a plea of guilty or no contest to lording and prowling and resisting an officer, both of which are misdemeanors?
Correct.
All right. You understand the rights you're giving up?
Correct.
All right, sir, I accept your plea. We'll adjudicate you guilty of the offenses of lording and prowling and resisting an officer. Sentence you to time served in jail. And court costs will be reduced to a civil judgment. Last one I have is Peter Redongo.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, sir, I've reviewed a probable cause charging affidavit. It charges you with soliciting without a permit.
Correct.
I do find probable cause. Sir, if you wanted to enter a plea, it's totally up to you. You don't have to do so, but if you wanted to enter a plea, I would adjudicate you guilty, sentence you to time served, court costs reduced to civil judgment.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that what you want to do?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, review that plea form. After you've read it, sign it. All right, sir, is this your signature on the plea form?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand the rights that you're giving up by virtue of entering a plea?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, sir, adjudicate you guilty of the offense of solicitation without a permit, sentence you to time served, impose court costs, reduce those court costs to a civil judgment against you.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you all. And tomorrow the courthouse is open, so it'll be not my job.